like to welcome Ms. Yolanda Carnerio up, our Vice President of Carey International.
I want to start by saying thank you, Mark Gurley, and thank you, Angela Pearson and St. Arnold's travel agencies, all those wonderful travel partners that we have at Carey International. We have been a partner of Virtuoso for over 15 years, and great member agencies that we participate and engage with. So thank you for the opportunity to meet the clients that are in our vehicles. So I am a Vice President of Travel Industry Partnerships, have been at Carey International for 32 years, mostly on the corporate side. 6 years ago, I moved over to the travel segment, which I'm having a great time this meeting and engaging with all people like yourselves. So to start with, ground transportation, I'm seeing on the agenda so many amazing vacations, luxury cruise lines, etc. And makes me think about ground transportation. Where does it fit into your itinerary? And when you think about ground transportation, it fits every part of your itinerary, whether from the home to the airport, to the venue, to the hotel. It really connects everything. And it's really, we like to liken it as the beginning and the end. How your experience starts and how you get home after your great vacation. And when you think about ground transportation, relative to the cost of the whole itinerary, it's just a small fraction of the whole travel experience. And we know that when something does go wrong with the ground transportation, it creates a domino effect to your whole vacation or travel itinerary. And the broken chain, we know, as I've experienced here at this great property, that what the measures that they take to make sure the safety of all their guests. And when you think about this great property and you think about it, that it happens everywhere within their brand. And when you look at ground transportation, not so much so, right? You think about, okay, what do they do to make sure that the vehicles are clean, that the employees are also taking precautions, and the company has a liability to who their clients are, who their passengers are. With Carey International, because we are a network, we are able to monitor those standards and the audits to make sure that everywhere in our network, we are following the same procedures. And a little bit about Carey International, there's a little bit of an eye chart, but we have been in business since 1921, so we made it to our 100th year. It was a tough year, like everyone else, but we are celebrating our 100 years. Started by John Paul Carey. He was a barber by trade in New York, and he had some clients that needed to get around. So he took one of his vehicles and started chauffeuring him around. Thus became the very first limousine company. And we offer service in over 1,000 cities worldwide. We do about 1.5 million trips a year. And anywhere in South America, Europe, Asia, obviously the US, Canada, Middle East, Europe. So anywhere that we have a location or requirement. What is unique about Carey is that we operate under a franchisee network model, which means that 95% of our trips are done through the Carey brand. So you are going to experience the same service, whether you're in London or Washington, D.C. We like to say the only difference will be maybe the vehicle type, depending on the location, and the accent of the chauffeur. But you are able to see when you arrive, it's the same greeting sign, the same standards, chauffeur uniform. So it's consistency in the service in the major markets and smaller markets. And 5% of our trips are where we really don't have a lot of business needs, that we have alliance partners. So we don't necessarily broker out the business to these 5% locations. We vet them, we audit their standards, we audit how they background check, their fleet, their insurance. So we make sure that anyone that we put in the vehicle where we don't have a branded location has been fully vetted, and it's a brand that we can trust. Chauffeur standards, our average chauffeurs have been with Carey over 8.5 years. They go through very stringent classroom training, on-the-road training, background checks, not just local, but state and federal. So we're making sure that anyone that drives for Carey has been fully background checked. We look at criminal, the terrorist alert list, sex offender list. So very important due to the fact that we have very C-level executives, very VIP individuals in our vehicles. We also do drug testing, 5-panel drug testing, random drug testing, and then making sure that motor vehicle records are up to date and periodically check their records. We have over 6,000 corporate clients and also about 15,000 agencies that are registered with us to do business with Carey. So the travel segment, so happy to say, is the fastest to come back in our company. We are about 60% is corporate business that we do, but the travel segment is the first to open up for us. Thank you for that to all our great partners. And also our events division, we're starting to see a little bit of groups, also in the leisure side. And then we do have a 99.5 customer service. We audit. If you're a passenger with us, you'll receive a survey. Your ranger will also receive a survey, just to make sure that we're doing spot checks and just making sure everybody's satisfied with our service. Our fleet, this is our domestic fleet. Obviously looks a little different international, but vehicle capacity is pretty much the same throughout our network. Anything from your executive sedan, from quick airport transfers, quick meetings, all the way to the motor coaches, minibuses, SUVs for your golf outings. The motor coaches, we don't have any in our fleet, but again, we have contracts with motor coach operators that we've vetted. None of our vehicles, the smaller vehicles, are no older than 3, so you know that any vehicle that comes up to the smaller ones are 3 years or younger, and then the larger vehicles no older than 5. And what is it we do? It's our typical as-directed service. You take the vehicle that is sanitized, no other passengers are allowed, and then you just give us an itinerary of where you want to go for the day. We also have something that was kind of quick for us also as companies started coming in to work. We partnered with several corporate accounts that we have where they use Carey for employee shuttles, picking them up in the morning at 5 different locations, taking them to work, and then in the afternoon taking them back, knowing that they were all quarantined together and it was a safer way than public transportation if it was not available. We also created city-to-city rates. Actually, we created this after 9/11, where we take a vehicle from Washington, D.C. to Boston, Philadelphia. I mean, we had some vehicles that went all across hundreds and hundreds of miles, and taking you from one city to the other. This was very popular with individuals that wanted their children to going back to college, especially in New York when they were quarantined and you couldn't get out. They were using Carey to take them back to the universities. And then non-emergency transportation for medical appointments. We're also doing some clinical trials with some great travel agency partners that have clients that are in the pharmaceutical industry. So we are doing quite a bit of that, a lot of remote locations. Again, where it's very difficult to find a provider, Carey is able to provide the transportation in those remote locations. Our events division is starting to pick up. We are a preferred for the NFL, the PGA, the NBA. We just came back from the draft. We did transportation in Cleveland for the draft. Getting ready to do the PGA event in my area, Key West, in South Carolina. So we do partner with them, and we also do quite a bit of corporate events throughout for all the corporations, sales meetings, board of director meetings, and the like. And then private aviation, a lot of people are taking private charters. So we have a division that we pick up at the tarmac and track the flights. So this is another area that we're seeing quite a bit of business from. And then vacation ground transport. This has been great for us this year. I've gotten great conversations to where do your clients want to go. Put together an itinerary, and it could be to different cities. I know that we just did an itinerary where they were going from Charleston to Savannah and then another location. So we're able to use our network. So making it the least expensive way to get from one city to another, so that you don't have to drive and you have a chauffeur with you, picking up. We did an itinerary in Bosman for 5 days. Pick them up at the hotel, they have an itinerary by their travel advisor that created the itinerary, and we pick up and take them to the locations, they go out to lunch, bring it back, and then do it again 3 more days. So that's been really good for us. And tours, again, through our travel partners, packaging, bundling, where it makes sense for chauffeur transportation. For the most part, picking up at the airport to the hotel, from the hotel back to the airport, and or 3-4 hour transportation for their tours if they like to do some touring. We don't have tour guides, but all of our chauffeurs are very familiar with the local area, and they're also able to point the sites, etc. But we are doing some tours. In Napa Valley, we have some wine tours where we take 5 hours or 10 hours, for example, where we have recommended wineries that you can go in for 5 hours. We also have a 10-hour fee, but I was telling somebody asked if I'd done a 10-hour wine tour, and I said, if I did that, it'd be a cleaning fee. I'm sure, about 10 hours of going from winery to winery. I just come in, okay. So then lastly, this is an example of, what it is that I just covered. So when you think about ground transportation, safety, we follow all our COVID standards. How you book, or how our partners are booking us we're on all the online booking tools, the GDSs. Virtuoso has a dedicated line that is answered in our VIP desk. You can also book us through our website. They register, log on for booking Carey. And with that, thank you so much for having me here. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Anyone doing the falconry experience? Okay, good. I just started reading about it, Mark, and I'm like, I don't know if I signed up for the right thing.
Thank you for your time.